Some of you guys will not relate with my story, and that's okay. Some of you will relate to certain parts, and some of you, maybe one of you may sit there and say, you know what, I relate so much with that, right? My whole goal is to inspire you guys, to educate you guys, and give you some kind of nugget. All I want you to do is get one nugget. If you get one nugget out of this today, perfect. You got value. Does that make sense? How many guys are working right now? Okay, awesome. If you understand that when you go to a workplace, the whole purpose is not for you to get some kind of paycheck. The whole purpose is to do what? What is the purpose of going to work?
Gain experience. Add value. Build connections.
Build connections, add value. The main thing is what you just said, adding value. The more value you add, the more money you get. And a lot of people think they want to get something first, right? So we're going to learn today about sales, a little bit about leadership, and understanding that you have to give in order to get. For example, we have this program, Sammy, right? Is that the program? Is that the name of the program? Awesome. They're giving to you so that one day you can actually give in return. It's to create that ripple effect, so to say, right? So a little bit about my background. I am Sephardic, right? I am Jewish. I actually grew up in a very crazy environment from 0 to 19. If you can relate, you can let me know. From 0 to 19, my life was like chaos, nightmare, domestic violence, physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, okay? My parents used to kill each other, and physically, mentally, emotionally, cops were involved. It was a whole nightmare. I went through a lot of trauma, a lot of craziness, right? So my parents got divorced finally at 13 years old. I was like, thank fucking God. Sorry for my language. Can I curse? I'm sorry. I'm just going to be authentic. Is that okay? I apologize, right? I'm just going to be me. So at 13 years old, 14 years old, my parents got divorced, and I was like, thank freaking God, right? Because I just knew that it was just enough was enough. But for whatever reason, my parents decided to stick together and create this nightmare of a relationship that literally dragged for 13 plus years, right? So being involved in that, I grew up, who knows the precinct 1112 in Forest Hills? Okay, anybody live in Regal Park, Forest Hills? Okay, just imagine this. The whole precinct used to call me by the name 8911 because that's the building that I grew up in. So like, oh, that's the 8911 kid, because that's how many times they came to my house, either arresting me, either arresting my dad, or some kind of domestic violence call, right? So it was a nightmare. As a matter of fact, every single one of our neighbors always moved out because of all the noise and all the shroom, so to say, and John Joel, right? In the household. There was never peace, ever. On Shabbat night, on Saturday, there was no such thing as peace. Now, my father was extremely religious. He's an amazing person. My mom didn't want to follow the religion, right? So there was a lot of conflict in the house, right? And that wasn't the only reason, but there was a lot of problems in the home. And to me, as a child growing up and seeing that, it affected me, right? Emotion. How many of you guys can imagine it can affect a kid emotionally a little bit, right? So you become a little bit secluded, right? You go to school, you have problems in school, and you can't pay attention because the last night you stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning dealing with all the police. So you can't focus in school. Then they call you ADD, everything from, anyone here been diagnosed or labeled as ADD or anything like that? Okay, depression, anything, one of these crazy things, it is 100% bullshit, in my humble but accurate opinion, right? All it means is that you don't like this particular subject. How many guys are super focused on video games? Anybody plays video games here? Video games? Anybody play any sports? Anybody study really well here? Almost all you guys, right? When you focus, you get exactly what you want, right? So I just didn't like, the teachers weren't relating with me. So I did not, some of you guys have more degrees than a thermometer right now, and that's okay. I barely graduated, right? I went through 8 schools, I went to 9 schools, got kicked out of 8. Most of them were yeshivas. No yeshiva ever wanted me to go, to be accepted. My father had to beg people on the phone, all these different Jewish charities to even pay for tuition. My mom and my dad collectively, you guys know the math, made $11,000 to $12,000 a year collectively. We grew up on food stamps. We grew up on Medicaid. As a matter of fact, I never ever as a kid, until I was 16, 17, 18 years old, ever been to a restaurant. How many of you guys been to a restaurant as a kid with your family? Never. Matter of fact, we didn't even eat steak, right? I eat steak all the time now because that's my story. By the way, if your story is different, that's okay, but this is my story, right? So I didn't have the most amazing child to say, wow. Like, how many of you guys had an amazing child with your family? Like, you can say you have great parents, you grew up a normal life. How many guys grew up a little bit crazy, a little bit challenging, okay? And that's okay. Your story is your story. The thing is this, you cannot let your past determine your future. How many of you guys made that decision? I'm not going to allow what happened in the past affect my future. And that was kind of me, right? Growing up, I was, bullied a little bit in certain grades. 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, I was bullied a lot. Why? Because I was extremely small. How many guys relate with that? Okay, how many guys have been bullied a little bit? It's okay. It's no embarrassment because I became the bully in 9th grade. Right? 9th grade, I was like, you don't bully me? Because I started to grow. I'm like, holy shit, right? So I was like 4'11" till 15 years old. All of a sudden, as I started growing, I was like, okay, I'm still short, 5'9", 5'8", whatever it is. But when you're 4'11", everyone's like 6 foot tall. What's going to happen? Especially when they think that you're getting special treatment, when in reality it wasn't really special treatment. It's just that I couldn't focus. I didn't sleep at home. I was sleeping in my car at 19 years old, right? From 0 to 19, like I said, my life was a living hell. 18 years old, I go to college, okay? Barely graduated. I don't know how that happened. Now, before I went to college, just so you guys know, I've been through foster care too, right? So how many guys can relate with that? Probably nobody. One person, anybody with the foster care program, group home? That was my story. So the government took me away from my mom and my dad and said, hey, your parents are not fit to raise you guys, so you're going to go with all these kids that are criminals, that are not following the rules, and you're going to live with these guys. And that's where I stayed for about 2 years. Crazy experience. There was only 2 Jewish kids, me and another one. And everyone else was Hispanic and African American. And the problem with that is what? They pick on you because you're the only white Jewish kid. And the other white Jewish kid was selling drugs on the campus, so they left him alone. And I didn't sell drugs, right? Because I don't want to get involved in that crap. So guess what happened? They started beating me up. They started robbing me. They started doing all kinds of crazy shit, peeing in my shampoo bottles, flipping me over in the morning, all kinds of crazy stuff. So that's the life that I live, okay? Does it sound like a little bit of a crazy story a little bit so far? I'm not going to go into more detail because there's a lot of shit that happened from 0 to 19, and I'm not looking for anybody to feel bad for me, right? It's not what I'm looking for. What I want to let you know is that no matter what happens to you in your life, you can literally transform your life once you make a decision. And you guys are going to learn that when you guys go to school, you guys get a job, you guys want to open up a business, whatever it is you want to do, you have to understand you have to make a decision, a choice. No one's going to force you to make that choice. Your mom isn't going to force you to make that choice. Your dad isn't going to force you to make that choice. You have to make that choice. How many of you guys agree with that? Okay? So when you make that decision, you have to back it up with what? Action. Because action cures all diseases. And by the way, if you guys are not taking some notes, I would highly recommend, because you're not going to remember everything I say, take some of these nuggets for yourself. You want to put in your iPhone. If you just do better at hearing, that's fine as well. But take some notes for yourself so you guys can take that with you. So action is what cures all diseases. Right? If you feel unmotivated, if you feel tired, if you feel uninspired, if you don't feel good, if you're like, oh, I don't know why I'm doing this, why am I going to college? I don't know why I'm studying this stupid art class when I want to be a doctor. How many of you guys felt like that before? Music. They want to put me in art. I can't even draw a stick man. I just want to learn about business. That's all I wanted to know. So I'm going to college, right? Because I was told by what? Family that you have to go to school, get a good education, get a good job, right? Now for me, having a job is not really the smartest thing because for me personally, how many guys think that I do well by being told what to do? Right? Because remember, my whole life I'm being told what to do, right? Police, foster care system, group homes, colleges, hospital, all this bullshit is trying to constrain me. And the kind of personality I am, I need a little bit of freedom to do what needed to get done. So I'm not saying that's you, but I'm saying that was me. That's my story. That's my personality. All I'm saying is this. You have to make a choice and you have to make a decision and you have to create massive action. A lot of you guys are in college right now, you're studying a little bit, you're trying to get into the workforce, you're doing just enough action to piss yourself off. How many of you guys know what temperature it takes to boil water?
1212 degrees.
212, right?
Did I say 1212?
212, right? How many people operate at 211 degrees? Think about that. Just enough. If you do 211 degrees, what happens to the water? It'll be very hot, my friend. It'll burn your finger, but it's not going to boil. And a lot of people are living their life with 211 degree mentality. You're doing all this emotion, doing all this motion, but you're not getting exactly what you want. All because you're 1 degree off. Because you're not going 212 plus. And that's what the all-in mentality is all about. So you got to learn a little about sales today, a little bit about leadership. But how many of you guys, just curious, can relate to some part of my story? A little bit. Very few. Or maybe a little bit, okay? How many of you guys can realize that that's not a normal childhood? That's not normal, okay? But one thing that I had to do was I had to embrace the abnormalities. How many of you guys believe you had some kind of thing in your life that it was a pivotal moment in your life that just changed everything for you? How many of you guys had that? It could have been in a conversation. It could have been a situation. It could have been you've been robbed. It could have been you've been through abuse. It could have been anything. Something happened. You said, that's it. Enough is enough. How many of you guys made that decision? How many of you guys took a lot of action after that decision? It's very important because what makes the difference is the action part. Nothing else. You can think yourself to death. Until you do 212 degree action, nothing will change. So, long story short, 19 years old, I'm seeking mentorship, right? Because I'm confused. I'm sleeping in my car. My mom kicked me out. I'm sleeping in my car. It's winter time. How many of you guys know New York City winter time? Okay, so I'm sleeping in my car with all my clothes, hopping around from house to house, from buddy to buddy. Nobody can leave me there for, days and weeks, right? Because it's people's homes. But I was sleeping on people's couches, sleeping in my car, figuring it out. Finally, I begged my mom. I was like, Mom, please. I remember the yellow notebook. I'll do whatever you want. She used to say, take your shoes off when you come into the house. That's one of her rules. How many of you guys have those rules at home? In my house right now, I specifically tell people, do not take your shoes, walk in with shoes. Because I was so against that rule. So against that, because it drove me nuts. But my mom said, wear your shoes, come in on time, all these bullshit rules, like 15 of them. I was like, okay, Mom, I'll do anything. I just don't want to sleep in the streets anymore. She let me in. All of a sudden, I meet a mentor in a gym. That's what changed my life at 19 years old. I met a mentor. How many of you guys have any mentorship in your life right now? Okay? Mentorship is extremely important. Guidance. You want to call it a guidance. You want to call it a coach. You want to call it a teacher, a professor, a rabbi, or somebody. It doesn't matter. As long as they're giving you some kind of insight, because how many of you guys realize you have blind spots? Right? How many of you guys think you don't know it all? Good. So you need someone to guide you in that process. For me, that was my mentor at 19 years old. He had 7 children at the time. I felt like his 8th child. Okay, because he took me under his wing, and I said, please teach me business. He had a business, and I said, please just teach me business, because I want to have control over my life. Because my whole life, I have zero control. Either the government is taking me away, either the school system is kicking me out. I never felt like I had control over my life. So I had to make a decision. Teach me how to be in control. Good morning. Right? Teach me how to be in control over my life. How many of you guys want some control in your life right now? Like you guys are becoming adults, you're going to school, you're going to college because you want some kind of control. You want to make some money. How many of you guys want to make some money? You need it. I'm sorry. Right? You need it. I'm not saying it's the most important thing. As a matter of fact, if you think that money will solve every single freaking problem you have, you're 100% wrong. Guys, I've been poor, I've been rich. But it's better to be rich with problems than be poor with problems. I could promise you that. I was sick the other day, and all of a sudden I had to go to a doctor, and it was like hundreds of dollars just to see the freaking doctor. I was like, what? Just to see you? You saw me for 2 minutes. Prescription. I was like, really? $500 just for that? Like 2 minutes. I was like, interesting. I go to the freaking CVS. It's $400 for the stupid little ear drop. $400 for 2 shots in the ear. I was like, really? Wow, what a business. Right? But if I didn't have the freaking $900 or $1,000 or I was struggling, what would happen to my ear? Right? Something would happen. Right? I didn't have insurance. I still don't have insurance. I need some. How many of you guys have insurance? You're under 26, your mom and dad probably has you under insurance, right? I remember that. 27 years old, I was like, no more insurance for you. I'm like, what? I need insurance, man. I got to figure this shit out by myself. That shit's expensive. I was like, $4? I was like, damn. How many of you guys think you're going to live forever? You're young and like, I'm never going to get sick. That was me. All of a sudden you get sick, like, shit, I should have had insurance, right? But anyway, long story short, I met this mentor, changed my life, put me under his wing, started teaching me lessons about how to become stronger mentally, how to make better choices, better decisions. I got involved in a network marketing business that changed my life. I started to realize, oh my God, there's a different world out there. It's a different world. It's about thinking about, how many of you guys read the book Think and Grow Rich before? Few of you guys, okay? I recommend you reading that book, 100%. How many of you guys read books here? Okay, by the way, my mentor asked me at 19 years old, do you read books? You know what I told him? I said, books are for losers. You know what he said? Well, I said that. I realized that I was the biggest loser in the room. I was the freaking loser, right? For even thinking that. Matter of fact, I started reading 50, 60 books a year. Now I have a consistency of every single year I read about 50, 60 books. And not just this cockamamie stuff, Harry Potter, Schmotter Potter stuff. I'm talking about real good books that can actually change your mindset. Personal development books, business books, marketing books, right? I remember in college, I went to college for a little bit because they paid me to go because the foster care program paid me to go to college. I'm like, frick it, fine, I'll go to college if you pay me. How many of you guys are like that? FAFSA, SHMAFSA, TAP, all that stuff. I'm like, you pay me? I'm going to do whatever you want. I go to college, political science. Trying to brainwash me with all their bullshit. I'm like, why am I doing this? I want to know about business. I don't want to know political science, art, music. I'm sitting there. How many guys are good with math? Calculus and stuff like that? I was like, damn, man. I had the professor put, what was that class? No, that's bad. We didn't have smartboards back then. This is like 15 years ago. Not chalkboard. What was it called? Holy shit. No, it was a whiteboard, but what's that? Statistics. This professor on the final, statistics. He put all the formulas on the freaking wall. I still barely made it. He put all the answers on the wall. How many guys have professors like that? They're like stupid. They just give you all the answers for the test. I barely still made it. I was like, damn, this is not for me. I just want to know business. I just want to know how to make money. That's what I wanted to do, okay? Now, by the way, this is not for me to tell you guys to drop out of college. Please don't do that, okay? You're going to get an email from your parents. Sammy program made my child quit school. Don't do that, okay? But that's what I did. 19 years old, as I screwed this shit, I dropped out. I said, I'm going to go all into business. Guess where I was working? How many of you guys can guess? Where does every Bulgarian go to work? Take a wild guess. Or 47th Street. So it's the 47th Street between 56th Avenue. That's where I ended up at 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. And I was a hawk. How many of you guys seen any hawks out there? That was me. I was number 2 hawk there. I wasn't number 1 because James, the fat chubby guy, was number 1. I was number 2. I was always trying to beat him, and I couldn't because he was there for 20 years. Long story short, I became a good hawk. So I dropped out of college, and I'm hawking in the middle of the street. Now, if you don't know what a hawk is, they stand in the street, and all they do is they hawk for customers. You guys ever seen a hawk, like an animal, get its prey? Yeah. That was me. I will look at you like, all right, she's selling? Come here. Boom. Talk to her. Miss, you're selling? You're not selling? Come with me. Come. You're looking to sell your watch? Come with me. Come. And then guess what? They would sell their watch. I would get a small little commission. Now, how many guys know 47th Street? How many guys know there's skeevers, scammers, disgusting people there? Okay? That's the world that I was surrounded by. I live a life with integrity. And to see them screwing people and screwing their own cousins and their own moms, I was like, this is not for me. But I had no other choice because nobody would hire me. I was unhireable. I didn't have a resume. I had to make up a resume and they still wouldn't hire me. How many guys make up resumes? How many guys bullshitted on your resume? Be honest. 7 years of experience in fucking management. Yeah, right. You were shoe clerk, my friend. Right? But they don't care. And by the way, between me and you, no real business really reads those resumes. They just look at the name, look at your last experience. Okay, great. They get you on an interview to talk to you about business. Okay, what is your experience? What is your skill set? How can you make us money? That's what they're thinking about. Long story short, so I'm working at 47th Street. I'm building this network marketing business for 5 years straight, from 19 to 24. Guess how much money I'm making a year? Less than $30,000 a year. 5 years straight. I'm talking about 80 hours a week, 90 hours a week. I'm busting my ass. But for some reason, the money's just not coming in. What do you think the problem was?
Commission-based.
No, that wasn't the problem. That was actually the beauty behind it. I was extremely motivated. I was extremely upset. What do you think? But I like these answers, buddy. It's good.
Poor pay.
No, the pay was actually good. That's a good one. That's a good one. I like that one.
You were motivated about to make money, but not how to add value to the customer.
Okay, I like this. I like these answers.
Like a mentorship.
I had a little bit of mentorship, but that could be it. Financial literacy, I was learning. Yes, you're right. It takes time. I was planting seeds, guys. All I was doing was planting seeds and planting seeds and planting seeds and planting seeds. But there's a planting season, then there is a what? A harvesting and reaping season. And most people do not understand that. They want shit when? Now. You put popcorn in the microwave, what happens? 2 minutes later, you got popcorn. You want food? Uber Eats. You want to go from here to Miami Beach? Boom, Uber. You want to go to Turkey? Boom, buy a flight ticket, boom, you're in Turkey. That's how fast you guys can make decisions in today's world. How many guys use ChatGPT? Your professors are morons, right? You can Google anything, you can Siri anything. Matter of fact, you don't even need to do math anymore. Hey Siri, what's 17,000 times 17,000? Boop. Watch what's going to happen in the next 5 years. It's going to get easier and easier. But the problem is that what? People get impatient because they want shit now. But what I was doing was I was planting those seeds. And some of you guys are planting those seeds right now. You're putting in the work. You're putting in the hustle. You're doing all this shit. You're like, oh, when am I going to eventually get this result that you want? But it takes what? A little bit of time. And a little bit of some sprinkle. So I learned this a long time ago. I sow, God grow. That's my motto. That's my mentality. I don't have control over everything. I only have control over my actions. I don't even have control over my employees. I don't have control over anybody. I have control over nothing but myself, my decisions, the thoughts that I think, the words that I speak, and the actions that I take. If I can control those 3 things, game freaking over. God's going to do what? Sprinkle that fairy dust. And it somehow grows. So for 5 years, I'm struggling, barely making any money. Right? How many guys can relate with that? You're pounding, you're pounding, you're pounding. You don't see the results that you want. It's okay. It's part of the process. It's part of the process. It's okay. And I started to realize that, wow, the only reason why I'm not where I want to be is not because I'm an idiot, not because of my professors and guidance counselors telling me I would never amount to anything. How many guys have been told that before? Anybody? Anybody told you you're not going to be anything, you're going to end up in jail, you're going to end up being on the streets, right? What'd they tell you?
Like, you're not smart enough, you won't get there.
You won't get there, you're not smart enough. What about you? Business is not the right path. You need to be a doctor or a lawyer or engineer in order to make it to the top. All this bouflaka, right? Which is not true. Does that mean that you shouldn't be a doctor? No. If you want to be a doctor, God bless your soul, be a doctor. We need some doctors here. You want to be an engineer? God bless your soul. Do all the math, do your brainiac stuff, and become an engineer. You want to be an IT specialist? Be an IT specialist. It's fine. But if you want to do business, go ahead and do business. But you got to learn what? In all these industries, what do you need to learn about? Sales. Yeah. What is sales? Who knows what sales is? I'm sorry? Selling a product or service, but let's look at the definition of sales. What is the actual definition of sales? Like, what is sales? Persuasion, right? It's the transfer of energy. Yeah. When you sell somebody, you're transferring your energy to them to make a decision. Sales is not taking, let me use as an example. What's your name?
Shlomo.
Shlomo. Sales is not this. Taking his hand behind the back, twisting it and say, hey, sign this freaking paper. And then he gets some, that's not sales. Have a seat. Thank you. I appreciate you. If I hurt you, I apologize. By the way, I need to make a disclaimer. If I offend you, make you feel some type of way, tickle your ego, make you unwanted, hurt your feelings or anything like that, that is not my intention. You can send me an email to HR, whatever, but I'm not the most filtered person. I speak from the bottom of my heart. Is that okay? Absolutely. Awesome. Because I got some emails before. I hurt some people. Any snowflakes in here? I apologize. Okay? It's not my intention. Don't get offended. I've been in a room full of snowflakes and they got really offended. It's okay. Life is not going to, everything's going to be okay. I'll leave in the next 20 minutes. You will never see me again. Okay? But sales is the transfer of energy. And every single one of you guys, whether you like it or not, you are in sales. You guys understand that, right? When you go to your teacher, your job is to persuade him to give you a good grade. How do you do that? Doing your shit and also a little bit of a nudge. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Professor. You know what I'm saying? Hook it up. How many guys do that? You get a little, what's up, Professor? What's up, man? What's up, Professor? Hey, I see you. Right? You're getting real close to the professor. Right? Because you want them to like you. Because if they like you and they trust you and they respect you, what do you think they're going to do for you? They'll do a little bit more for you because they like you. It's called the cognitive, there's 25 cognitive biases, right? One of them is the likable factor. People do things for people they like. If they like you, they're more likely to do something nice for you. If they don't like you, guess what that is? It's not the cognitive bias. They ain't do shit for you. How many guys have professors that didn't like you? Like they just didn't like you. You just knew they were just looking to find something wrong with your ass. And they're like, I'm gonna prove to this fucking guy. Shlomi over there, yeah, I got him. F. What? Not good enough. You missed 7 words on your essay. Like, damn, really? Really, professor? Come on, man. So, guess what? Sales. It's very important. You guys are going to get into the business world, into the job world. You're a doc. Well, Michael, I'm an engineer. I don't need to talk to anybody. Listen, you're talking to humans. If you're interacting with humans, whatever business I don't care if you're a software geek, which is a good thing. You're smarter than me. If you're a software guy, who's anyone here in software? IT? Software? You're going to talk to who? Hey, what kind of software you need, buddy? Hey, manager, what do you need me to do? Hey, coworker, can you help me with this? It's sales. It's persuasion. And if you understand, you have to learn how to communicate with other people. Because what gets you what you want in life is adding value to other human beings. The reason why those first 5 years I didn't make any money, I was barely making it, was because I was only consumed about thinking about who? Myself. How I felt. How I needed to make money. How I needed a value. How I needed to get out of my situation. It was always about me, 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 me. Poor, 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 pitiful me. And when I started to change my mindset, from me to other people, guess what happened? Oh my God, I started making a lot. As the harvest season kicked in. Yeah. Right? I made 80-something thousand the next year. The year after that, I made 139,000. Then a year after that, 250. Then 400,000. And the year after that, I made almost $2 million. How did that happen? It was by accident? It was all those seeds that I was planting for years that I didn't see the results, where everyone was laughing at me. How many guys ever seen, know 63rd Drive in Queens Boulevard? 63rd Drive. On that corner by Sears and Marshalls, I used to set up a table event. Selling Time Warner Cable. Every Buharian and their mother used to call my mom and say, how's your Sinichka doing? Is he going to be able to pay his rent? And I was telling Mom, don't worry, Mom. There's a plan. There's a method to this madness. One day somehow I'm going to make it. I'm going to figure it out. I learned sales. I learned how to hustle in the middle of the street. I learned how to take a guy that said, I am not interested, to saying, sign my ass up. I didn't force them. I didn't coerce them. I persuaded them. right? By showing them the value of the product or the service, by showing them that they needed the product. So in sales, it's not about forcing something down someone's throat. That is not sales. Sales is about what? Building a relationship. What else? Take a wild guess. There's no right or wrong answer. I'm going to pick on people. What is sales?
Convincing people.
Not convincing. Persuading. What's the difference between convincing and persuading? Convincing, you're forcing them. Persuasion is it's
You're leading them to their own decision.
you're leading them to make a decision. You're nudging them to make a decision because 99% of people don't want to make decisions. Why? They're scared. They're afraid of change. They want the same constant thing. They're so used to doing something the same way, they're afraid to make a decision because they had a past experience. Somebody lied to them. Somebody screwed them. The product didn't work. The product failed. They don't know. It's the unknown. So they're scared. So your job is to help them. So when someone's trying to hire you, they're scared about hiring you. They don't know if you're the right person because I've hired a bunch of other schmucks out there that have the same name as you or look like you with the same experience as you, and they're afraid to make the decision. Because like, damn, if I hire this guy, it's going to be another one of those Michaels. And we don't want one of those. Does that make sense? So they're afraid. So your job is to say, hey, listen, my job is to add value to you. What can I do for you? I'm going to change your life. I'm going to make your life better. I'm going to make your business grow better. Because if I'm involved in your business, it's going to grow. And this is what I'm willing to do. Boom, 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 boom. Give me a shot. And you have to learn how to do it the right way so they give you a chance. And once you're in the company, now you go 10x all in to show them the value you can actually give them. Does that make sense? Second thing, leadership. What changed my life, what helped me get into the millions of dollars was not just sales. It was leadership. It's about making an impact. Leadership is not about the leader. Leadership is about who? The people. It's always about the people. If you really want to make a lot of money, I don't care what industry you're in. I don't care if you're selling toothpicks door to door. It doesn't matter. You have to understand that people are the most important asset. The best investment in the world is not stocks. It's not Bitcoin, Schmitcoin. It's not no freaking NFTs. It's not no any other bullshit. The best investment is people. That's the best investment. And when you make investments into yourself, who's the first person you need to get in a good relationship with? Yourself. And if you don't invest in yourself, I'm not talking about school. I'm talking about outside of school. How many guys are studying outside of school? How many guys are reading books outside of school? How many guys are studying a little bit about yourself, your emotions? You want to make more money? Add more value to yourself, and by default, you're going to overflow with information and make an impact on other people. And by default, somehow people are like, here, take my fucking money. Does that make sense? Yeah. There's a few of you in this room are going to be millionaires. I know it. I can smell it. There's a few of you going to be 100,000aires. A couple of thousandaires and a couple, I don't know. We'll see. There's still some hope, right? But you have to understand, sales and leadership work together. If you understand those two powerful words, I don't care what industry you go into, you guys will make a huge impact. Any questions?
You said that you're a CEO of like a solar panel company. How did you realize that that's your passion and that's what you wanted to do?
When it comes to passion and figuring out what you want to do in life, I was so lost, I had no idea. Like when I was 19, I'm like, I just want to make money. I don't know what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it. I didn't understand passion, smashing. All I knew was my nightmare. I don't want to be freaking broke. That was me, because I lived in my car. I saw my parents fight over money. Like, it just wasn't fun. So I was like, okay, I have to do the exact opposite of what my parents did. I didn't have like dreams and goals and this beautiful cars. And I didn't have any of that. So to me, it was running away from my nightmare, right? So I knew, okay, I needed to make money. Now I'm like, how am I going to make money? What can I do? What can Michael Barayev do in the marketplace to figure out how to get money? Now my mindset at the time was wrong, and my mentorship helped me by understanding that you need to add value, have a skill set so that people are going to be willing to give you money. So to figure out your passion, right, you don't have to be passionate about what you do. You become passionate through the process. A lot of people are like, I'm passionate about something. I can't figure out my passion. You're not doing enough. You're not doing enough things. You don't find passion. By the way, how many guys ever played video games and you were super good at it? And you became passionate because you became good at it. But how about when you sucked? You hated it. Matter of fact, you want to take the control right through the TV. So when you're doing something that's good and creating results and there's progress, that's where the passion comes from. It doesn't come from before you start the job or before you start to work. In the beginning, you freaking hate everything. But through the process, you're like, wow, you find the beauty behind it. You find wow, like I can actually become a better human being through this process. And that's why they say in your 20s, go try a bunch of shit because you got nothing to lose. Like right now in my 30s, I got a lot to lose if I start something brand new. I got employees, I got people, I got a company, I got a relationship at home. Like if I just go take crazy amounts of risk, right? It's not the smartest thing in the planet. I take risks because you need that, but I'm not taking the same risk that I did when I was 20. At 20 years old, I had my Xbox. What am I going to lose? If I fail, I fail. Okay, great. I can get up again, right? And that's the mindset. So while you're in your 20s and your early 30s, just fail as much as possible. Fail fast and fail as soon as possible.
What skills did you lack growing up when you didn't really have like a stable family home and like work environment? And what skills do you like currently possess that like help you like in your day-to-day life, both like personal and professional?
So some of the skill sets that I did not have, I did not know how to connect and relate and listen to people. So my interpersonal skills were garbage, horrible, right? I give you guys an example. When I was 19 years old, I was working in the mall, right? And I was basically, running around, and my job was to get people to sign up for like modeling or something. So I don't know if you guys ever seen that, right? So that was my job. I was getting paid like $11 an hour, whatever it was, plus a little commission. I was running around the malls, and what I would do, no personal skills, no nothing, right? I would meet someone, and I would say, hey, can I get your name and number for the thing? And I would say, can I take a picture of you because so I remember who you are? How weird is that? Weird as hell. It was the most weirdest. I had no interpersonal skills. I didn't know how to communicate with people, right? So dealing with people is a very important skill set. You need to know how to communicate with people, how to listen effectively, right? I also, my ego was affecting me for many, many years, right? A lot of times when you're going through so much trauma, you start to look internally, right? So your ego, your emotions. I had no control over my emotions. My emotions took the better of me in all areas of my life. So if somebody would say something, it would trigger me, whoo, right? Anger would spit out. And I'm still working on that, right? Because it comes from trauma. So some of the skill sets, those are like more mental skill sets, right? But some of the skill sets that have helped me are sales, leadership, financial literacy is really important, especially if you want to make money. I don't care if you want to be a doctor, lawyer, right? Also, learning how to learn is a skill set. Because some people don't know how to learn. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I learned how to learn and how to study patterns and how to understand, connecting the dots. So like a lot of people, they communicate with people, but they don't read in between the lines. They don't know how to study people. They don't know how to profile people. They don't know like how to read a room of people to who's paying attention, who's knocked out. Like there's a couple of you guys already sleeping on me, right? And you have to have the acuity to understand that. So those are some of the skills that helped me out a lot. That helped me with dealing with people. Because when you know how to deal with people, you can lead people better. When you can lead people, that's a high-paying skill set. Because there's a lack of leadership in this country.
I was wondering, what was your prime motivation before you saw the fruit of your labor? Like in those dark moments when you were just doing for 5 years, you said you were planting seeds. What kept you going when you didn't see any fruit of your labor?
So one of the things that I learned is that faith is a big component of making things work. Right? And what is faith? Right? Believing something's going to happen is like, you believe, I believe it's going to happen. But faith is, 100% it's going to happen. It's just the ultimate power has control of when that happens. So I knew, I felt that inside of me that I knew that I was destined to do something great. I just knew that. I just had a freaking feeling. How many of you guys have that feeling you're destined to do something special in your life? Okay? And when you believe that inside of your heart and you put faith on top of it, faith is like a steroid. Faith gives you this ultimate power. And I know I'm not talking about God, religion, to fail. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about actual true faith in Hashem, knowing that you're going to be okay. And understanding that you were in a process. So those first 5 years, and it was a lot of dark moments, right? Because I'm 19 years of chaos, 19 years of negative seeds, 19 years of doubt, fear, and worry is not going to go away in 2 weeks or 2 years, right? It takes years to change your paradigm, to change the way you think, to take some of those deeper demons out of yourself and work on yourself. I say, damn, I am a good person. Damn, that stupid teacher that said this about me is not true. Damn, I am a good person. I am a da-da-da-da, whatever it may be, right? So it took a lot of personal development to get me out of that hole, and a lot of faith to say one day, somehow, some way, it's gotta crack. And I knew that there's a few things that help you create success. Not giving up and not stopping. So not quitting and not stopping. So I know for a fact, if I just do not stop and I do not quit, somehow, some way. If I take a hammer and I'm trying to break a rock and I'm just banging, eventually, somehow, some way, the rock is going to break. It has to. It is impossible. And you might say, well, the last one is what broke it. No. It was the 5,000 hits before that for 5 freaking years that I was banging, and all of a sudden, boom, I got the pot of gold, right? And it doesn't really usually come out all at once. It starts to drip. You're like, oh, shit, there's a little bit of gold. I knew it. I freaking knew it. I knew there was something in here. I had a feeling there was something going to happen positive out of this. Because you see the trajectory like this. It's called a slight edge mentality. Little by little, the compound effect kicks in, right? I'll give you guys an example. Take a penny and double it for a week. How much is it? Less than $100. Double it for 30 days is $5 million. On the 31st day, it's $11 million, right? A penny doubling itself. So the compound effect is incredible power. And most people don't give enough time for the compound effect to kick in. Because they give a little bit of spurt for 2-3 weeks, and they die out. A little bit of spurt, 2-3 weeks, and then they die out. 2-3 months, and die out. Nobody's consistent. Nobody's persistently pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing to achieve that greatness. I'll give you guys another example. Take a seed of a tomato, plant it in the backyard of your house. It may not grow the first couple of days, first couple of weeks, whatever. Right? A couple of months, boom, you have a tomato tree. All right, awesome. Take a bamboo tree, plant it. What happens with a bamboo tree? A month passes by, nothing. You're watering it, the sun, everything. You're praying, nothing happens. 2 months, nothing happens. 6 months, nothing happens. A year, nothing happens. 2 years, you're like, you know what, this fucking bamboo guy sold me, he got me, he scammed me. Third year, man, God is not real. I've been planning, doing all this stuff. What's going on? Nothing. 4th year, you move out. A year later, on year number 5, guess what happens? Bamboo tree is growing 3 feet a day. And who's reaping that harvest? Not you, because you moved out, because you gave up. The next door the neighbor that moved in. And that's what happens to most people. They do all this freaking work, they never wait to see the worst to be reaped. And that's the challenge most people have. They're and their whole life, 20 years goes by, too much and no result.
I was wondering, you brought up 2 ideas. One of like everyone's at 211 degrees, and then also the 7 areas of life to balance. So I was wondering, how do you decide how to balance which areas of life to go to 212 and which to leave at 211?
Love that question. There's no such thing as your heart working and your lungs are not working today. Then your esophagus decides to not work, then your kidney decides to work tomorrow, your brain doesn't work. No, they all work what? As a unison team, right? It's called the digestive system, brains. You guys are smarter than me, I don't know, right? All this stuff is working together. That make sense? So when you're looking at all 7 areas of your life, you cannot be excelling in one area. You cannot be an amazing husband and a shitty worker at work. You cannot be an amazing student. You're an A student, but you know what? Mentally and emotionally, you're freaking dying. That doesn't work. You have to work in all areas of your life, and there is no such thing as balance. Balance is not what you're seeking. What you're seeking is to go all in all areas of your life, and you have enough time in a day to do all that. Why do you think most people do drugs and alcohol? Like, I never got drunk in my life. With all the life that I went through, never got drunk. Drank a couple times. I never really got drunk to the point where I don't remember anything, right? I still don't drink. Never did weed, all that bullshit. Never did cocaine, never did drugs, never did any of that shit. I got drugged one time, almost killed a person, right? But I never did any drugs. Why is that? A guy with my history, you might say, oh man, that guy definitely did some drugs, definitely did some cocaine, definitely did some of that shit. Because I was so focused on working in all 7 areas of my life, I didn't have fucking time to do all that shit. When you do drugs, when do you guys do drugs? Be honest. When you're fucking bored. When you're bored, all right, bro, you want to go smoke it up, bro? You want to go chill? You chill when you're bored, when you're not working in all areas of your life. And when you're working in all areas of your life, there's no fucking time to chill. You can have fun. You go out, have fun, go to the club. There's nothing wrong with that. But you don't have time to sit there and do this. To spit in the ceiling. And then do this. You don't have time for that because you're working in all areas of your life. And there's 24 hours in a day, 8 hours of sleeping, 16 hours a day, bro. You got a lot of time to go work in all 7 areas of your life. And you don't, listen, this doesn't mean you got to go to the synagogue 7 days a week. Because there's some people like that too. 7 days a week, all in religion. Or 7 days a week, all in on work. Like that's not how your body works. You got to put time for your wife, time for your children, time for your mom and family, right? I don't need to call my mom every single freaking morning 10 times a day. I talk to my mom every single day, how you doing? I love you, this and that. But I don't talk to all my cousins every day. Could you imagine that? That's crazy. You don't call me anymore. I'm sorry, bro. Like, I have a life. Once a week we could talk here and there, 5 minutes, how you doing? Whatever. But I'm focused on my business. I'm focused on my life. I'm focused on my future. I'm focused on impacting people. And there's a lot of time, my friends. It's just a lot of people are wasting a lot of it on stupid shit. And that's why they do 211 or maybe 111. And they wonder why they're not getting closer to their dreams and their goals.
What's up, Mike? How you doing? Zach from Philly. We met before a couple years ago. I want to say that he is the real deal. He takes his time to get to know you, and he gives you advice. I remember that one time he had a meeting with me, and it was very memorable. My question was,
we have food in that spot.
we went to upstairs in a mall. Yeah. Question is, because I'm a little bit closer to your age as opposed to the others, also have a business and whatnot. Question is, once you're that successful CEO, once you're working on yourself for all these years, how do you maintain that growth? How do you, like nowadays, right? What way, in what ways have you challenged yourself in the past year? How have you grown now in the past year? Because we've done a lot of growth in the young 20s. But now that I'm getting into my 30s, almost 30s, and you're already, however old you are.
31, baby.
So how do we maintain that growth? How do we maintain that ambition, that hustle?
I love it. Prosperity kills people, right? Success can kill you sometimes. When you're broke, when you're busted, you got nothing, you got everything, you got nothing to lose. You got everything on the line. What do you usually do? You're all in, you're like, you're hungry. All of a sudden, you make a couple of hundred G's. Make a couple of M's in a bank account. You got life is good. Things are chilling. Things are good. You got everything going the right way. What happens? You start slacking. You start settling. You start getting complacent, right? Because you think you got there. Because what you were chasing was a certain status or a certain level. You weren't chasing for the right reasons, right? So when you stop getting hungry because you hit, for example, if you think about it this way, in one room you could be the top 1%. You can make $1 million a year while everyone's making $50,000 a year. You go into another room, everyone's making $1 million. Now you're part of the 99%. And there's one guy sitting there that's making $10 million. Now that $10 million guy can be in a room with a bunch of guys making $10 million, and guess what? He's part of the 99% because there's one guy in the front that's making $100 million. So there's always levels to the next thing. That's why you got to be very careful not to be in a room all the time where you are the shark. You got to be in a room where everyone is faster than you, sharper than you, doing more than you. Proximity is power because it rubs against you. Because when you see 30, 40, 50 people that are making more money than you, that are creating more success than you, that are faster than you, that are sharper than you, whatever area you're in, what ends up happening is it inspires you. You're like, damn, I got to get to that next level. But if you're hanging around the same buddies and you're making more money than them, and you're making more success than them, you're smarter than them, you're faster than them. I'm not saying ignore your friends, but I'm just giving you the mindset. You tell me who your friends are, I'll tell you exactly how far you're going to go. It's a cliche saying mommy and daddy used to always say, but it's kind of like the truth. Who you hang around with on a daily basis, who you spend your time with. And can I be honest with you? It's a fault that a lot of successful people have because the more success you create, the harder it is to get into those higher rooms. Because you got to find those rooms. There's not 100 rooms to get into. So you have to sharpen your tool and be inspired by someone that's a little bit ahead of you in the game, in your industry or in your field. Does that make sense? Because prosperity can kill you. Because the second you start making money, you're like, I got it. You ain't got shit. You ain't got shit. And because you were chasing things for the wrong reasons, you stop. So what you need to do is remind yourself, hey, why did I start this in the first place? And you got to reinvent yourself and start looking at the dream. Change the dream again, because the dream you already accomplished, because you got what you wanted. What got you from where you were poor, hungry, determined, which I call PhD. How many of you guys got PhD here? Poor, hungry, and determined got you to where you are today, right? You need to change that. What's the next thing you're chasing? You have to have the next thing. So right before you're accomplishing a goal, change the goal to a bigger goal, something bigger and more intimidating so you can chase it.